Everyone, and welcome to lesson 8.1, day 3. Today we're going to talk about our second type of special right triangles, the 30, 60, 90 right triangles. And in these particular triangles, the hypotenuse always ends up being 2 times as long as the short leg. Meanwhile, the longer leg is square root of 3 times as long as that short leg. Now, how do we know what's the short leg and what's the long leg? Well, think about the smallest angle is going to have the smallest side across from it. So the 30-degree angle is, again, the short leg, and that's always kind of our starting point. And then the 60-degree angle, the side across from that is going to be the medium-sized side, aka the longer leg. And that's going to be, again, the short leg times the square root of 3. And then last but not least, our hypotenuse is across from that right angle, the 90-degree angle, and again, it is double the size of that shortest leg. So the shortest leg is our favorite because once we know what that is, we can find the other two based on that by either multiplying by 2 for the hypotenuse or square root of 3 for the short leg. Now, sometimes you might be given the hypotenuse, you would divide by 2 to find that short leg, or if you're given the longer leg, divide by square root of 3 to get that short leg. So each time we have to be careful, unlike our 45, 90s where those legs are the same size, we always know that the short leg is across from the 30-degree angle, the longer leg across from the 60-degree angle, and then our hypotenuse, again, across from that 90-degree angle. So your picture, you have to be careful which side is which. In our second example over here, we have the hypotenuse, short leg across from the 30, longer leg across from the 60. Okay, so each time be very careful how you are labeling your 30, 60, 90, your short leg, long leg hypotenuse. So in our first example, notice they are giving us the side across from the 60, which means this is n times the square root of 3. Hypotenuse then is 2 times n, and our short leg over here is the side across from the 30. And we know our life is made so much easier if we can solve for that short leg n. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we are given, though, which is our longer leg. So n times the square root of 3. And we know that that's equaling 18 right now. Well, if we divide both sides by the square root of 3, then we would have our n by itself. Now, the problem is we don't like when we have a square root of 3 in the denominator, so we need to rationalize. So now our denominator is positive 3, 18 square root 3. Last but not least, 18 and 3 are divisible, so we end up with just 6 square root 3 is the value of our n. So over here, we know this is 6 square root 3. And then we just need to double that n value to get our hypotenuse. So we double the value on the outside. So 12 square root 3 would then be our hypotenuse. So J is 6 square root 3, K 12 square root 3. In the next example, they are nicer to us. They gave us that side across from the 30. So that is our n this time. So n is 30. Sorry, n is 10, across from the 30. And the nice thing is when we know that short leg, we just need to take that value and multiply it by the square root of 3 to get the long leg and double 10 to get our hypotenuse. So we have 10 square root 3 as the side across from the 60 and 20 as our hypotenuse. So x is 10 square root 3, hypotenuse y is 20. On the next page, a couple more examples. Again, this time they are giving us the hypotenuse, and as we label, again, side across from the 30, side across from the 60, and that hypotenuse, we are given that 2 times n is 4, which means our short leg is just going to be 2, and that longer leg just gets 2 with the square root of 3. So 2 and 2 square root 3 would be our sides there. Side across from the 60 then on this one is what's given. we don't know the short leg, we don't know the hypotenuse. Again, we can solve, however, if we take that leg, divide by the square root of 3 on both parts, cancels out, and then again, we always like to make sure we rationalize so that this time n is 5 square root 3 over 3. So not super pretty there. Now to get that hypotenuse, though, we just double our value of n, so that 5 will double to get that hypotenuse. So s is going to be 5 square root 3 over 3. Hypotenuse then is t, 10 square root 3 over 3. Last but not least, on this next one, we are again given the hypotenuse. Okay, but be careful this time when we try to divide 9 by 2, we don't get a nice pretty whole number. We would just get 9 halves. You could write 4.5. We just usually leave it as a fraction, so n, and then you can write this as 9 square root 3 over 2. So again, q this time is the 9 square root 3 over 2. Hypotenuse, 9 halves. Okay, we have 2 examples for you to try on this one. Okay, first one, you are given the side across from the 30. Second one, you are given the hypotenuse. All right, 3 final examples here then. Okay, on this one, we are actually given the side across from our 30, the short leg, so yay. Okay, to get that longer leg, then we are just going to take 4 square root 3 and multiply it by the square root of 3. Well, in this case, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is just 3. Final answer there is 12. Double our 4 square root 3, our n value here, and that just becomes 8 square root 3. So hypotenuse w is 8 square root 3, y was just 12. Second example, they gave us the side across from the 60, and we're looking for the other 2. So n square root 3 this time equals 8 square root 3. But when we look to get n by itself, it just cancels, and we're left with 8 for n, which means 16 would be our hypotenuse. Finally, on this last one, we are again given the n. We are looking for the longer leg and the hypotenuse. So we just need to take 5 square root 2 our n, multiply it by square root 3. We get 5 square root 6. And then our last one, double our n value. Well, 2 times 5 is 10 square root 2. So j was 5 square root 6. K is 10 square root 2. Last 2 U tries. Okay, you are given the side across from the 60. So be careful there. You got to solve for n first. And the side across from the 60 in letter B. Solve for n first. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll definitely work more with these in class.